Which one of North Carolina's opponents is the strongest and which one's the weakest? Let's rank them. Let's go. What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? My name is Nathan. I am one half of your Heel Brothers. And today, we're going to take all 12 of North Carolina's opponents and we are going to rank them from worst to best. This is a schedule that has been deemed very weak, and we're going to see which one is the weakest and which one is going to be the strongest. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Who do you think is going to be number one? Don't skip ahead in the video. Go ahead and tell me now who's going to be the strongest, and then come back and tell me if you got it right. Also, while you're commenting there, take the time as well. Hit that like button. Smash the like button if you're enjoying the content. Be sure and subscribe if you're brand new to the Heel Brothers, and smash that notification bell to never miss another video from the Heel Brothers. Now let's start it off. Number 12. Who is North Carolina's worst opponent on the season going to be? Well, I think we have to start it off with their very home opener, the Charlotte 49ers. The 49ers are a team that are currently trying to build a program up, and currently they've been doing a pretty decent job. They got an interesting head coach over there that I kind of like. I like his attitude. I like his demeanor. I think he's a good guy. But the problem is, as of the time that I'm actually recording it, this exact same day, they announced that half of their starters are going to be out week 1, and we face them in week 2. So I think this is going to be Carolina's weakest opponent. It's going to be the start of the season, home opener. The crowd's going to be excited. The players are going to be excited. Hopefully they're coming off a win against Minnesota in up there in Big Ten country. And I think with everything of that, Carolina is just not going to be able to be matched, especially if Charlotte's players are going to be out, or at least half of the starters, that is, going to be out for that game. I see this as a weak game for Carolina. They're already ranked to be one of the worst teams in the country by far, no matter what. I think they rank 120-something in offense and defense, and their team is not very highly spoken for. So, hope Charlotte's on the come up in the future years, but I don't think they're going to match up this very well this year. Next up is NC Central. Now, this is the one I'm pretty sure everybody probably would have picked to be the worst team, but I'm going to tell you why. NC Central, on FCS standards, they're a pretty damn good team, and they've been to the Celebration Bowl twice. I think they've won one, if not both, of those games. NC Central in the FCS has been a pretty solid force over there. They're a good football team. They're very well coached. They play a very nice brand, a very complimentary brand of football. And even though, yeah, for FCS school, it's going to be pretty much a breeze for Carolina, I have a good feeling. I do think that they are a really well-rounded squad, and really we're probably going to have some moments where you look at it and say, well, you know, this some highlight plays there from an FCS team. Going to be a fun atmosphere, I think, anyway. But I like NC Central in this spot. Next up is a game I'm very excited for. Also a game that I'm going to this year. James Madison. Now, this is not the JMU team of last year. Brand new head coach. They lost their DC, everything. They lost a lot of guys. So this is going to be a brand new JMU team, but they still have the hype. They're still building up the program, and the program's sitting in a really good spot. I like where they're going. And I do believe that this could be a very App State-ish type game for North Carolina. So it's not a game that they can really sleep on, considering all the momentum that JMU's had over the previous few seasons, especially after last year. A team that was, with them being brand new to the FBS, they couldn't get into a bowl game. They were a really good team last year. They played really well, and for them to be in the FBS for one season and they do so well, it kind of speaks on their program and on the team. Got to see what this team's going to be like this year. I do believe that they're going to be a pretty solid team in the Sun Belt. I do not believe that they're going to be the team of last year. If this was a team of last year, they would be a few notches higher on this list, to say the least. But new team, a new head coach, a fan base that's building up. I like them, but currently right now at the number 10 spot, I think that's a really good spot considering the teams that we have on this schedule. Let's move up to Wake Forest. Another game I'm going to this year. At home, Wake Forest. Wake is in a place this year that is very interesting. They are really in a rebuilding part. They've had Sam Hartman over the last few years. He finally left after 2 seasons ago, the 2022 season, went to Notre Dame, and they had the Griffin kid that played quarterback for them last year. He transferred, so Wake Forest is in a place where they're trying to rebuild that place. Now, this team has always been kind of a thorn in the side of Carolina over recent years, and I do believe that they could potentially pose some threats to Carolina in their game, but do I expect it to be a very tough game? Maybe in the first quarter, some parts of the second, but that's about it after that. I think at that point, Carolina's going to take control of this game, and they're going to move forward. And for them to be the lowest of the ACC schools, I think that ranks perfectly right there. But they're a very close second to our number 8 pick. And at number 8, I've got Virginia. And the reason I think Virginia is going to be a little bit worse of a team than Wake Forest. But the issue is Carolina's got to go to Charlottesville. This is not at home. This is in Charlottesville. And Charlottesville has not been good to Mack Brown, nor the University of North Carolina. Across all sports, Carolina has an issue in Charlottesville. So a couple of seasons ago, Virginia also wasn't a good team. But sure enough, once again, it was a dogfight, to say the least. And they had to go through there, and they had to win that game in the final minutes. And that should have been the game that they should have won in there and kind of breezed through, considering how good that team was a couple of seasons ago, especially on offense. So I rank them just ahead of Wake Forest, just for the simple fact that it's in Charlottesville, and you never know what can happen. This is also the team that knocked off North Carolina last year in the 6-0 spot at home, and they really weren't a good team last year. And, even though I think Virginia might be looking for a new head coach in, 8 months, something, or 4 or 5 months from now, I do see this being a little bit tougher of a test than Wake Forest. Number 7 is a home game against Pitt. This is also a team that is really trying to rebuild themselves. Ever since they won the ACC, Carolina's had their number, 20-point wins both times. And Pat Narduzzi and the crew, they're not very good on offense. They're still pretty tough on defense, and that's why I got them ranked up there at that number 7 spot, right about halfway, just because of the defense. It's not going to be a very pretty game. It never really is. It's always a gritty game that you're hoping you can get through injury-free. Typically, you can't do that, but, I think it will be a physical football game, kind of the same formula it's been over the last few years, where Carolina and Pitt just fight each other neck and neck, tooth, nail, and claw in the first half, and then Carolina kind of pulls away in the second. I believe that's how that game's going to go. But we're at the midway point now, so let's see who's in the top 6. At number 6, we have the second true road game, the first game in the ACC this year, Duke. And let me tell you why. Manny Diaz is in town. Now, Mack Brown does own Manny Diaz. Let's just call that what it is. He does own Manny Diaz. Here's the deal. Duke has still got a good squad. They got a pretty good quarterback potentially in Malik Murphy, the guy out of Texas. I do think he's got a lot of good potential and talent. I like what they've got over there. And it's also going to be at Duke, an atmosphere that Carolina's been able to take over, and hopefully that continues. But I do think this is going to be sort of a bouncy team this year. They're going to be excited at home against Carolina, new head coach. They're going to be excited. And I believe that they could pose some challenges to North Carolina. Could be an interesting game there. And I do see Carolina winning this game probably in a double-digit margin. But this could be a game that could easily, if things go right for Duke, and Duke is really that excited about it, and they're getting it, and they're kind of getting what they want, this could be a closer game. I'm not too afraid to say, but I think Carolina does get a win in that part. But I do like what Duke's building up over there, and I don't think they lost. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know they lost a lot of their talent, but this is a team that you shouldn't sleep on too much going into their house, being the first ACC game of the season, especially on the road. The top 5, and I think the top 5 are the daunting. These are the 5 games that Carolina are going to have an issue with, because in my opinion, they could lose all of them. So let's start off with number 5, Boston College. Now, when does Carolina go to Boston College? November the 23rd. What is the average temperature / conditions in Chestnut Hill about that time? somewhere around the mid to high 30s, damp, cold, wind blowing like crazy. It is not a fun place to play, especially in the month of November. Boston College is a team that has a really solid quarterback in Castellanos. I really like what that kid's doing. He's very mobile, he's very fast, and he's also pretty accurate, to say the least, with the football. And that could be a team that could really challenge you. And if you don't think this is a place that Carolina could potentially stub their toe and mess up, I think you need to relook this game, because this is a game that, yes, on paper, Carolina should go win. Should go win maybe even by a double-digit margin pretty handily. But given the time of year, and given the time that it's going to be, Boston College is a team that likes to play and really does play a whole lot better late. We saw it last year, especially when they started facing FSU and things of that nature. And they just, after the FSU game kind of early in the season, they really kind of just started to get rolling. And if Carolina's not careful, they could be in a world of hurt in Boston College at that time. So you got to keep an eye on that, because you never know what might happen up there in Chestnut Hill. Number 4. We already talked about Virginia knocking off North Carolina in really promising moments. Let's talk about the other team that did it 2 years ago at 9-1, Georgia Tech. And honestly, they very nearly jumped up to number 3, but I'll explain why it didn't when we get to that point. Georgia Tech is a team that just knocked off Florida State, the reigning ACC champions, the odds-on favorite to win the ACC again in Ireland. A 3-point victory for them. Brent Key has done an amazing job over there. I don't personally care for Brent Key, but he's done a really good job over there in recruiting and building a team and building a culture very quickly. He was an interim head coach 2 seasons ago when he stepped in, and they didn't have a quarterback. It was a revolving door at quarterback, and they didn't really have a solid team over there either. But they come into Carolina, and they knocked off Carolina at home, being down 21-0 at one point, or 17-0 at that point in the game. Is able to come back and win that game. He's got the right kind of moxie, and he's building a really solid team. If you don't believe me, go to On3 on Twitter and look at the recruits he's bringing in. 4-star D linemen, left, right, and flipping guys from other major Power 4 conference opponents, and bringing them to Georgia Tech. This guy has got that team rolling, and they look like they could be deadly this year, especially with the with having the asset of Haynes King being there as well, and some of the wideouts that they have. Could be a really dangerous team. They're coming to Chapel Hill. That's why I didn't rank them one spot higher. It's a close third for me, but Georgia Tech's a team that Carolina can't play with. One, they haven't beat them in 3 years. That's number one. And they've had some pretty pathetic performances against Georgia Tech. That's number 2. But you got to win that game, and that's going to be a dogfight, and they're going to force you to do some things. That is going to be the best offense Carolina's faced to that point in the schedule. It is the 3, 6, 7th game of the season, and considering the offense that they're going to play, that's going to be your best one. Also, probably one of maybe the second or third best defense you saw at that time as well. Going to be a tough game. Carolina's got to keep their eyes peeled on that, and that should be a fun one. Number 3. And this one, we're just under 48 hours away from the kickoff, and that is Minnesota. The game, I had to put it at number 3 for a various amount of reasons, honestly. Number 1, it's the first game of the season. First games of the season are always difficult because you don't know what you're going to have. This is a Big Ten team. PJ Fleck's done a really good job. They've won 9 games multiple years, 11 games a few seasons ago. And the only bad year they had was last season when Carolina got them in Kenan Stadium, and Drake May just went crazy on them. So did Nate McCollum. That's the only bad year they've had. And they went 6-7, courtesy of a bowl win. PJ Fleck on the squad, they got a good team. They got a good defense over there. They have a brand new defensive coordinator. It's going to be the first game of the year. It's in Minnesota, so you're going on the road up there. It's in the middle of the Minnesota State Fair. They're having a good time. They're chugging milk like crazy. They're getting tilted on a cinnamon roll beer and whatever the flip us, everything. That's going to be a raucous crowd, very similar to probably Virginia Tech of 2021. So it's going to be a difficult environment to step into. Carolina has got to be on their P's and Q's. They got a quarterback situation they got to figure out still. We still don't know what Jeff Collins is at the time, and we're going to have to figure a lot of things out. So I feel comfortable putting them at the third spot because there are so many variables that you could use to lose that game. And the only reason that it's at 3 is because the 2 others on top of it are just absolute dogfights left, right, and center. So this is going to be a intense game. It's going to be fun. I am excited to see it right here in just under a couple of days now, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun, but this is going to be a test for Carolina, especially opening up their season. Number 2, and honestly, 2 and 1 for me kind of work like 1A and 1B. You can really flip them and it would be okay. But I'm going to have to go with NC State. The pack, the Wolf Pack. I can't stand the Wolf Pack. I can't stand them boys over there in Raleigh. I can't stand them. They're cockroaches in the college football world in the ACC, and I'm about sick of it. I honestly am. All up to you guys. Whatever. Actually, not really. I'm not going to be too nice in this vid. It'll be all right. You'll get over it. But NC State, man, 3-year losing streak to NC State. Handed them 2 games. Last year they went out and whooped us. That's just what it is. The last 3 years, NC State's had your number one way or another. You get them back in Kenan Stadium this year. Difference is more balanced team, better offense. Their offense is starting to match where their defense was, and you got a little bit of drop off in the defensive side of the ball, but the offense is looking pretty good. I like Grayson McCall. I've liked him ever since I watched him at Coastal Carolina. I think he's done a great job, and I think it was a very good pickup for them. Quite frankly, if Max Johnson wasn't available, I wanted Grayson McCall, and quite frankly, I thought that he should have been in the conversation to begin with. That's just what it is. That's where I stand on it. That's just me. Not you. That's just me. But NC State's a team that's got their number. They play with intensity. They play with a fire, and they don't care. They're just going to try and rip your head off. They hate North Carolina. The fans do too. It's absolutely amazing. They absolutely just love to hate on us, but it's okay because we love to hate on them too. We can't stand them either. That's okay. This is not a game for fun and whatever. This is a game where you go out and you lay the hate that you got on somebody and you knock somebody on the ass. And that's just what you got to do. That's just what it is. And that's what this game is. So a rivalry game, it's already intense. It's already crazy as it is. You add the hate between these two teams and it just amplifies more and more and more. And if this was on the road, this was easily going number 1. And I still think it's 1A and 1B. You can flip it, whatever. But with this game, this is the game that is going to define you, man. This is going to define your season. This is your season definer right here. Because if you go out and you win all the games, but you lose a state game, season's trashed. Right there. It don't matter. If you go 11-1 and you're 1 being the state, season's trash. That's 4 years. That's 4 years losing straight to them and everything else. The conversation continues. Your season's trash. This is your season definer, in my opinion. And I think it has to be that way. I just think that's what it is. So sitting at 1, it's so hard. And honestly, while I'm recording this, I may even flip it. But I'm gonna keep with the original list. I'm gonna keep with the original list. But at number 2, that's a strong number 2, and I still think you can flip 2 and 1. And 1 obviously being the last one I haven't talked about, Florida State. And the reason I put Florida State at number 1, you're on the road to Tallahassee. Florida State's had North Carolina's number ever since Mack Brown returned. Mack Brown cannot seem to get a good win over Florida State whatsoever. They're the reigning ACC champions. They have the best defensive line that you're going to see all season. Mike Norvell's done a great job with that team, and they have really built up the stock in that room, and they're recruiting at a high level, and they've got some great talent over there. This is a game that you're more than likely going to lose. And you look at the talent on that team, it's crazy, dude. To beat them is like you're beating Clemson, man. They are a staple within the ACC. They're a team that you got to go through. If you want to crown yourself anywhere in the ACC, the 2 teams you got to beat, FSU and Clemson. That's just what it is. Not particularly in that order either. You can put it in either order you want to, but those are the 2 teams that you have to go through in order to crown yourself a champion or crown yourself as a contender within this conference. So with Florida State, this is going to be a game that's going to test you on every single level whatsoever. They've got NFL talent. They've got some of the best coaching over there, and they're going to put you through the ringer along with the raucous crowd. all of it combined, I think this is your toughest game. And depending on what DJU does. Now, DJU's kind of throwing a wrench in my idea here. That's why I'm tempted to daggum switch 1 and 2 here. But I'm going to stick with it because I believe that overall, FSU is still a juggernaut. They're still a powerhouse, and they are still one of the 2 main pillars within the ACC and the ACC football race, put it that way, just ACC football, that you have to keep an eye on, man. So let me know what you all think down in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you rank them differently? Let me know. Did you get it right? Did you get number 1 right? Please let me know down there in the comments below. Looking forward to seeing the conversation down there. Absolutely love it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. And as always, go Heels.